kindness that transforms us, our community, and the world. All of us can learn that. All of us, the children and the big children and the little children, and we can say that together. You ready? We are here to create a movement grounded in love and kindness that transforms us, our community, and the world. All right, let's take a deep breath in and out and become present right here where we are. It seems like such an obvious thing. Of course I'm right here, Paula, but are you fully here? So breathe in and breathe out. And let's send some healing energy to Renee and to all those in our community who desire to feel the wholeness that they are. You know somebody who is coming up in your mind and heart right now. And rather than to see them as something or someone who needs healed or fixed, to simply see through your mind's heart the wholeness that they already are. To know that the divine is moving and breathing and living them right this moment now. And that is how we can know that all is truly well. And so it is. Amen.
Inside these walls are where I lay my head, are memories of my soul and the dreams that I have made. Some may live for pain, oh, and some may live for fun. Some may live for fortune, oh, and some you know that they live for sun. So the choices that they make intend to lead them on the way, so they can celebrate this dream that they have made. All mankind is searching for a way to make some sense of this place. All mankind is hurting, but we can feel no pain when life is but a dream.
All right, thank you, Jared. I shouldn't be amazed. Let me go over here. If Renee was here, she'd say, don't start talking while you're doing that. Hi, honey. She's gonna be editing this, so she'll be like, cut. I miss her. It's always amazing to me, and it shouldn't be, that whatever song Jared picks, whatever song Perry or anybody else who's here selects, it fits right in line with what I'm talking about. And here's the line from Jared's last song that really fits, and you're going to find that out as I move through. It's, all mankind is searching for a way to make sense of this place. Right? I mean, because things don't make sense. Things don't make sense. So I just bring that up. So, no more soul talk this week. I've been talking about the soul, and I've been saying, oh, I'm not going to talk about it again. Well, this is the week I'm not going to talk about it. So on Monday when I sat in my chair, I said, well, what should I be talking about this week? And immediately it comes into mind, you need to talk about grace. And I'm thinking, how much do I really know about grace? And where did that come from? Like, where does that thought come from, by the way? Like, where does that thought come from when you ask a question that comes, like, that's a whole nother talk. But what I've decided is when I hear that, to pay attention. Now, if it would have said something about how a combustion engine works, I wouldn't have done that. But it's given me this wisdom, this inherent wisdom in me has given me something to go with. So I thought, okay, grace. I get the message. Maybe there's something I need to know about grace, which is usually the case, and maybe there's something you might take from it as well. So the first thing I thought of after I had that thought of, we talk about grace, is the quote, and you may be familiar with it, "There, but for the grace of God go I," right? I mean, do y'all know that quote? Anybody hadn't heard that before? Yeah. So, "There, but for the grace of God go I." Well, it's attributed to an English evangelical minister called John Bradford. And supposedly John Bradford was watching these men being taken to be hanged. They were climbing the steps to the scaffold, and he said, "There, but for the grace, goes John Bradford." You know, in other words, man, I got off the hook, they didn't, right? There they go. And it's interesting that supposedly not far from that point in time, he was burned at the stake, so I guess his grace didn't last very long, right? But if you do a little research about that, you find that it cannot be attributed to this man. I mean, there's reviews of his writings and people who've looked at it much more than I have saying, he might have said it, but he might have not said it. So nobody really knows where it came from. "There, but for the grace of God go I." But when I thought about that statement, I thought, I don't like it. I really don't like it, because what does it really mean? "There, but for the grace of God go I." Like, is God handing out grace? Like, is that the way it works? Like, there's this God sitting somewhere saying, "Okay, grace for you, none for you." Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make sense to you? It's like, well, that doesn't even feel right. That doesn't feel right, that there would be a God somewhere doing that. Like, what kind of God does that? It doesn't feel right at all. It was too confusing for me to think that I could just be lucky enough not to have experienced this. And confident or appreciative of it, and maybe even have a little empathy for the other chap, you know? Like, oh, poor you, but glad it didn't happen to me. You know, is that really what grace is? I couldn't take that. It was confusing. It didn't make any sense. So I came up with this as my next step. My next step was this. Grace means I am humbled by my apparent good fortune, and I feel empathy for those who are suffering. I thought, all right, well, that might be a good start. Humbled is a good place to be. Maybe grace is here to teach me to be humble. Because who the heck can make sense of what's happening in the world? All right, here's the connection to Jared's song. Who can make sense of this stuff? Like, why did I survive cancer and this woman who sat next to me in group not? Like, how did that happen? Grace? Really? How did Fort Myers get in the eye of the storm and we got barely scathed here? Is that the grace of God? Saying, okay, I'm going to make it go. Is that how it works? Like, I don't think so. Why do some people in recovery seesaw back and forth in recovery, back and forth, and others are sober or clean for decades? While I sit home every week with my 2 cocktails and have absolutely no repercussions from it. Is that grace? Golly, I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense. And why and how could it be that beings that are in their teens or their 20s or their 30s, 40s, or 50s die before me? Do I have some sort of grace from God that allows that to happen? You see, I don't buy it all. I don't buy any of it. I don't think that's what grace is about at all. That doesn't make a bit of sense. So I dug a little deeper because it didn't make sense in this lingering idea that there was a God somewhere dispensing grace. I'm not buying it. So I thought, well, you know, what I've taught before about the Bible and about spiritual teachings is that maybe grace is a spiritual practice and a spiritual idea, and that's why it doesn't make any sense in the physical world, because it's a spiritual idea. And it works in the spiritual realm. It works in my consciousness, and then is expressed in the outer world. I thought, I think I'm onto something. I think this might make sense. In other words, like I said, it works from the inside out, not from the outside in. All these examples I just gave you are all about from the outside in, aren't they? Comparing myself to this and that. So I pulled this book off the shelf that I have called Grace Awakening Essence by Deidre Price. I haven't read it for a while, but you can see I still have those sticky notes in there because that's just my way. And so I'm inviting us to think about that, about what would grace mean if it worked from the inside of me to the outside. In other words, instead of God somewhere being the dispenser of grace, that I was the dispenser of grace. Oh, I can see you scratching your mental heads in there. Here's some questions that Deidre asks us to consider when we consider, are we a grace dispenser? How about this? What is your response when someone has wronged you? Do you seek to get even and feel a need to expose their actions to others? Do you immediately call a friend and talk about it? Do you need your day in court? If we do, maybe we're not such a good dispenser of grace. How about this one? What is your reaction when others don't carry their load? Do you feel put upon? Or do you slide into the martyr role? Ouch. Huh? How do you react to the TV programs you watch? For instance, are you satisfied when the villain gets his or her reward? Are you judgmental of the role of the characters, hoping they will get what they deserve? Hell, we don't have to watch TV to do that. We can look right out into the newspaper and the articles and say, hey, he got what he deserved. That's not grace. Here's another one. When someone gives you a compliment, do you need to compliment them in return? Right away? If you forgive someone, do you expect them to forgive you? Here's, I use this all the time. Look at your behavior driving. Do you have a tendency to slip into road rage and a desire to get even? Or are you centered in your peace in traffic? Courteous even if someone cuts you off. Examine your gift giving. Is it without expectation of gratitude or the need for acknowledgement? I was raised up where you write a thank you card. Well, they are few and far between these days. Do I expect that when I give a gift? Do you? Is that really giving? Yeah. Can you give without the need for others to be deserving of the gift? It's calling us, isn't it? And in your expression of love, do you expect love in return? And do you withhold it when it is not returned? This is the world of even exchange out here. This is the world of expectation out here. That we expect that there be this for that. We expect that there be that people get what they deserve, right? That's what we do out here. But grace says, Grace is not about even exchange. Grace through me is not about even exchange. It's the answers to these questions that say, yes, I give, and there are no strings attached. I have no expectations. That's grace. Otherwise, it's I give, I get. Right? Here's another thing for us to consider. She says, to assist yourself in uncovering your challenges that you have, ask yourself, what is it that you pride yourself most in? For example, are you giving? If so, how do you feel about stingy and tight people? Are you open-minded? Anybody open-minded in here? Everybody's afraid to raise their hand now, right? Like, oh, I don't know. How do you feel about narrow-minded people?
Well, if you ask that, then I'm open-minded.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you always give people the benefit of the doubt? then is it hard for you to deal with people who always look for the worst in others? What do you feel when someone tries to proselytize you? You respect others' privacy and space. You wouldn't do that, right? But does your button get pushed when you get unsolicited phone calls? Give me a big button for that one. I've been getting a lot of them because I'm about to turn 65, so everyone wants to sell me Medicare insurance. Oh, Alabama, Utah, Missouri, New York, Washington, D.C., all these, 5 or 6 a day. I'm like, yeah. And here I am preaching to you. That's just crazy. And then another one about road rage that I won't even have to say. So what I'm understanding from this is I'm the one who dispenses grace. You are the one that dispenses grace, or not, or we dispense judgment. We either dispense this desire to make sure everything is tit for tat, one for one, or not. I am the dispenser of grace in my life, and you are the dispenser of grace in your life. And it comes through your heart and your soul, from the divine, maybe, and I think that's the truth. But you're the dispenser, not the divine, not God, whatever you call that to be. You are the dispenser of that. You dispense what that is. Grace knows no concept of even exchange. None. None, N-U-N, none. No concept. No concept. And this is what I think Jesus taught in Matthew chapter 5 that I'm going to read for you. Jesus doesn't say grace anywhere in the Bible. There's nothing that Jesus says this is grace. But this, I believe, is what he described as grace. And it's Matthew 5, starting at 28, I think it is. Here's another old saying that deserves a second look, he said. This is from the Message Bible. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. He said, is that going to get us anywhere? Here's what I propose. And this is why his teachings were off the chart, and why I tell people, don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to the Bible, because here's what he's telling us that we have to do. Here's what I propose. Don't hit back at all. If someone strikes you, stand there and take it. If someone drags you into court and sues you for the shirt off your back, gift wrap your best coat and make a present of it. And if someone takes unfair advantage of you, use the occasion to practice the servant's life. No more tit for tat stuff. Live generously. That, my friends, is grace. But out in the world, man, it doesn't seem to make any sense, does it? It doesn't seem to make any sense at all. Grace is about taking away all this scorekeeping, all this blame, all this. It even is about taking away the level playing field. I pride myself on starting to say, we need a level playing field. Grace says, no, I want to put you up here and me here. I want to serve you. No level playing field even. That's not what grace is about. Grace is, level playing field is fine, but that's not grace. Grace says no matter what, I'm in service to that. I need no acknowledgement back. I need nothing in return. I am simply here expressing love itself through me as grace. That's it. That's it. I learned a lot this week. Here's another example. If you think Jesus is the only one, as it were, on my calendar, Friday, September 24th, I saved the good ones off this calendar. Well, it was the 25th actually. It's the 2021 calendar that my friend Christine Lyons gave to me, thinking it was the 2022. So I can still use it, because here's the story. And this is a fill in the blank, so when I get there I want to stop. One evening a farmer was just drifting off to sleep when he heard a noise in the orchard outside. Investigating, he noticed a young man from the village up in one of his trees stealing fruit. Quietly, the farmer went into the shed where he kept his
Guns. Guns.
Ladder. Ladder. Somebody's listening, Paul, thank you. Where he kept his ladder and brought it to the tree so that the thief might safely climb down and slip away unharmed. That is grace. Guns are not grace. Dogs are not grace. Clubs are not grace. A ladder is grace. Grace is a state of mind and a state of being through us, gets manifest in the world. In this case, through a ladder. That's what I came to learn about grace. So instead of the original saying, there but for the grace of God go I, I'm saying because I am alive and aware, grace is possible through me. Grace is my state of being. I am humbled and filled with compassion. Because there is no grace of God. There is only the movement of love itself through me from the divine. That's what I learned about grace this week. And I learned how often I fall short of that. And that's what happens with spiritual practices. You have to practice them, right? They're not, oh, now it's all done because I know. It's now I am aware and now I can practice that. Now I can be aware of when I fall short. That was the lesson here for me. Not just to feel humble and to feel bad because somebody got their due, but to practice grace, to practice love itself through me. It's not about luck. It's available for everybody all the time. It is inherent in who and what we are. It has no foundation in anybody getting anything they deserve or not deserve. It's not about deserving at all. Grace. So as we go into meditation today, this is not meant for us to give ourselves a black eye for all the times we fall short. This is for us to celebrate the awareness of what grace is and how we can demonstrate it in our life. How we can practice being grace, having what Deidre Price calls grace mind. And I would say grace heart. That because I am alive and aware, it's possible for me to express grace. So breathing in and breathing out, let's sit just for a little while together. take a deep breath in and out. As I was thinking about how to end this lesson, I started thinking about the words to this hymn, Amazing Grace. And I wanted to make them work for what I came to understand about grace this week. And so this is what it sounds like. Amazing grace. That's all I can say. You saved me from myself. I was so lost in my even exchange thinking. And I can see more clearly now. Love is what healed me. I never realized it. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm so grateful and so humbled. I finally understand. I've already made it through so much. I didn't realize that either. It was love itself that carried me along. I feel peace and joy forevermore. Amen.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed.
Terry Mann, don't go too far. You have a little reading to do. I didn't do a soul card before the message, so it's going to be done now. And this one says, Terry Mann.
I was going to go get the cookies.
I know. Well, you can stand next to me on this side, and I'm going to give you part of my microphone here.
I can talk loud.
Yeah, she thinks she can, but
I can talk loud, right?
cool.
What do you want it to be in your life for others? A spiritual home where I am, where I can deepen my connection to spirit, where I can be in community with others of like mind. How do you want it to feel? I want it to feel authentic. I want to be myself and laugh and cry and grow. How will you bless this space? By showing up, by being myself and being kind, by being of service.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right there. Yeah. Sounds like a little bit of grace in there, huh? Yeah. So let's take a breath and say our closing prayer together. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy and filled with grace. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be peaceful and at ease. May all be happy and filled with grace. Amen.